Ambassador Bill Hagerty. Bill Hagerty is the former U.S. just former, too, a U.S. ambassador to Japan. He was nominated by President Trump. He was the Trump victory chair for Tennessee in 2016. He's now a candidate for U.S. Senate in Tennessee. And so he's made that move from ambassador to candidate. But I wanted to have him on today to talk about a few issues. One that I saw him tweet about. And first, let me welcome him to the Mike Gallagher Show. Ambassador Hagerty, it is great to have you on today.
Jordan, it's great to be with you, too. Thanks to you. Thanks, Mike and the team. It's great to be with you today. I hope you had a great Christmas with your family and looking forward to a wonderful 2020.
Absolutely. And I saw something you tweeted, and it's on your Twitter account is Bill Hagerty TN for Tennessee. It was about your work as ambassador to Japan, and I think it impacts everybody across the country who's listening, especially politically, because we keep hearing about farmers doing so bad under President Trump, and he doesn't care about farmers and these trade wars and trade deals. But you tweeted about a new trade deal between the U.S. and Japan that you played a role in making happen. Tell people about that, because it just went into effect.
Jordan, you're exactly right. It's going to be huge for American farmers. This new U.S.-Japan trade deal is going to open up the third largest market in the world. That's Japan, one of the most important agricultural markets that our farmers deal with anywhere in the world. We worked on this for the better part of 2 years while I was there in Japan. It's been very important to get this done, and it's particularly important now because China has taken, retaliatory thrust toward our farmers, really trying to attack the president's base. China has erected barriers, even higher barriers, made it harder for our farmers to sell. So we went to our ally Japan and said, look, it's time to step up and help us help our farmers and really play a close role with us here. So you're going to see Japan starting today. The law took effect the first of the year, that Japan is going to be buying a tremendous amount of new agricultural product from our farmers here in the United States, and importantly, it's going to impact our home state of Tennessee.
And that should, for everybody who's listening to the Mike Gallagher Show that I'm sitting and hosting for, and thank Mike for having me on. Let me choose our guests. We've got great guests coming up for tomorrow as well to host back-to-back days. But as we're talking to Ambassador Bill Hagerty, who's now a candidate for U.S. Senate in Tennessee, and we're talking about the U.S.-Japan trade deal. You know, there's so much news, Ambassador Hagerty. There's and we'll talk about some of the other political news, like the impeachment and other issues, and even what happened in Baghdad. I'd like to get your thoughts on as an ambassador. Sure. But these kind of trade deals, we're still going to hear from the left. Oh, see, President Trump, his base, the farmers, they may stay with him. That's because they just don't understand how bad he is for them, and they're all going out of business. But yet, you were coming up with, when you were ambassador and working with the Trump team at the White House, solutions to getting around the Chinese issue by renegotiating new trade deals with allies like Japan. So should the narrative start changing? Should we start hearing something different about how these trade deals are going to affect American farmers?
I certainly think we will. I talked to loads of American farmers going through the process of negotiating this deal and setting up an environment where we could see our farmers winning again. And the Japanese understand as well what China's doing. This has a longer range effect, not only of opening markets for our American farmers, but also puts more pressure on China because they realize in that part of the world that the United States is the best partner there, that other countries in that region are going to choose to trade with the United States. It strengthens our position, and it makes China even more isolated in their approach. So I think it has a major impact both diplomatically and economically for America. And when the farmers see us step up and accomplish this, work around this, I think it emboldens their resolve to stand with the president. They've been great about standing through this retaliation from China. And when they find us deliver this type of relief, I think it's very important. And the other thing this trade deal does, it does not get as much immediate impact, but it's a $40 billion deal on digital trade. And what this does is help really set up stronger rules of the road, things that will make our whole system stronger from a digital standpoint, safer. And I think the leadership that America and Japan are showing here are going to be important around the world. You got the first and the third largest economies here in America and Japan working together. I think that sends, again, a very strong message to China and others who would think differently.
When I sent out a tweet just right on New Year's Eve that the U.S. stock markets were set to end the year near record highs, capping a 10-year stretch that ranks as one of the best in U.S. history. And Ambassador Hagerty, I mean, I was listening just not that long ago to all of the experts, in the financial world, especially the ones who don't like President Trump. They were telling me and telling everybody listening to their broadcasts and their television shows, recession, like it was coming right now. And yet we've got these new trade deals like with Japan. Any kind of incremental move with China that gets towards something better, and you see the stock market shoot up. I mean, it just seems like the way that they were hoping, the left may have been hoping for a recession, but that's not how the Trump team, and while you were ambassador, that's not the theory. Was not going to let that happen.
I think the left got a big lump of coal in their Christmas stocking this year, thanks to President Trump, because their ability to talk down the economy was not going to supersede the great policies that he put in place. And think about it, when he came into office, starting with deregulation, clearing out this regulatory morass that really has been a burden to small and medium-sized companies. The president has done that and continues to deliver on that. Then tax reform. He took us from the highest tax rate in the world to something far more competitive. And what it's done is it's transformed the U.S. economy to become the most competitive, the most attractive economy in the world. So we're seeing capital come here from other places. We're seeing more jobs created. I think the economy is on a tear, and a lot of it has to do with the great policies that the president has put in place. I'm looking forward to another strong year in 2020 as well. I'm sure we'll continue to hear doom and gloom coming from the left, but I think, as I said, the president has delivered in ways that nobody imagined possible. You remember the magic wand statement? Well, the president has produced that. You and I have talked about this before, but if any other president, particularly the president were a Democrat, had delivered the type of results that we've seen from this administration, their face would be etched on the side of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Melania Trump would be on the cover of every magazine, but that's not the case.
No, it's not. In fact, Ambassador Hagerty, they wanted to make what happened in Baghdad, which I think is serious, and you oversaw a huge embassy in Japan for the United States. Obviously, Baghdad, a little bit more of a hostile zone, and we had the green zone, but they wanted to make that without even letting it play out a little bit. The Donald Trump Benghazi. See, he said we're never going to have a Benghazi. When in fact he said we're not going to have another Benghazi, and made sure there were troops ready in the region, and they weren't just sitting back like what happened in Benghazi, but instead we're sit there, and now it's an additional 750 to defend our embassy compound, and we got most of the staff out of there that needed to be out of there. But again, that had to be a good feeling when you were an ambassador, too, that the president really did have your back.
Absolutely. It was clear to me the entire time I served in Japan that the president had my back. I think this, many people do. But Japan houses more men and women of the U.S. military overseas than any other place in the world. We have more U.S. military assets located in Japan than anywhere outside the United States. And I was very fortunate to have a strong complement of Marines protecting my embassy. I'm thrilled to see the president step up and do the right thing and do everything he can to make certain that Americans are safe. And I think the president has made it very clear. Iran is the problem here. This is about Iran and state-sponsored terrorism. And their regime has been at it for 40 years. And this is about stopping them and pushing back against them, and they act either directly or through their surrogates in other countries. But we know what the root cause is. And by the president stepping up to this and making it very clear that he's not going to tolerate it. Again, you mentioned 750 troops coming from the 82nd Airborne. My heart and my prayers go out to them and their family, and my deepest appreciation for what they're doing. But they are going to make certain that American interests are protected, and that when countries have American blood on their hands, like Iran does, that they'll pay the price.
And one of the reasons, the other reasons I wanted to have you on today to talk to all of Mike's listeners is that because this whole Ukraine impeachment deal, and the House votes on impeachment, now here we are, that they're going to return next week to Congress, but so far, as a member of the president's legal team, I'll tell you, no indication yet as of this moment that anything's changed in Nancy Pelosi's mind, that we're going to start the trial anytime soon. Maybe something, and she doesn't have to make a huge announcement, Ambassador. She could just send it over, on Tuesday, and it could set up the trial date. But that certainly doesn't seem like where we're heading right now. Things change rapidly, though, in Washington. I mean, you were an ambassador, and this whole issue is about foreign policy in Ukraine, and now you're traveling your home state as a candidate. So just your reaction to this impeachment issue leading into what we're now in 2020, so in the 2020 election year.
Well, the people of Tennessee have been very clear to me everywhere I go. They see this for what it is. It's nothing short of the Democrats' attempt to undo the results of the 2016 election. Nancy Pelosi's even slipped up and made it public that she's been working on this for 2.5 years of impeaching this president. I think the president deserves his day in court. As far as I've seen, there's been no impeachable offense committed. I look forward to the president clearing his name and really getting this done quickly so the folks in Washington can get back to making the lives of people like the people right here in Tennessee better. I think that's what people here are telling me. They're fed up with it. I think the Democrats have had, made a serious mistake here. It's backfiring. The president's support has gone up. It's certainly gone up here in Tennessee. I spoke with the president about this not long ago, and I explained to him, as sorry as I am that his family's got to go through all of this stuff, it really is strengthening the intensity of his support among people here in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a nonstop, being part of his legal team, nonstop harassment since literally he began his transition. I know you were his Tennessee Victory Chair. I mean, this was happening since before he even took the oath of office. It's been, again, I don't think any other president, I'm not sure how well they would fare under this, but you know how tough of a guy President Trump is. He actually already came out, too. I just want to finish with this because it's unique in a primary. He's already come out and endorsed you. I mean, this is, for Senate. So that's how close a relationship you do have, formerly with running the victory effort for his campaign in 2016 in Tennessee, and now as a candidate traveling the state.
Well, his endorsement has been a huge boost to my campaign. I've had a lot of things to wrap up in Japan to get back here. Just had a few weeks in the first quarter when we closed out in end of September. But we had a record for a new candidate coming into office in terms of fundraising. We'll post our results mid to late January on that front. But as I've been out now, talking to Tennesseans, it's been amazing the support that I've seen, people coming on board because their lives have been impacted in a very positive way thanks to the policies that President Trump has put in place. And when they know that they've got a person that will support President Trump, that he has clearly endorsed coming into this office, it just makes a huge difference. There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. And I think the president put it best in his endorsement, which so many people have seen here in Tennessee. But one, how much I love the people here in Tennessee, and then how strong I'm going to be on crime, on borders, on the Second Amendment, on life, supporting our military and veterans. These are things that Tennesseans care about. And now that I've been out on the road and campaigning, I really am just seeing an overwhelming amount of support as people come on board with this. They want to see somebody standing with the president and continuing this winning streak that we've had. And having somebody like me with a business background, a pragmatic outsider's perspective, looking at the problems that we're facing as a nation, I think is resonating very strongly with people.
And you're talking about that Japan trade deal that's just not getting any attention right there. It's why I wanted to have you on today, Ambassador. And again, the support you got as an ambassador for security, unlike the Benghazi situation. I appreciate you being on. That's Ambassador Bill Hagerty. And you can find out more about him at teamhagerty.com. We'll be back with Jordan Sekulow, filling in for the Mike Gallagher on the Mike Gallagher Show.